I think the hardest part really of filmmaking and storytelling is really making sure that your characters are very, very clearly defined and that you can say exactly what they want and why.
I mean, what she wanted naturally was something that was easy for me to naturally give. So I really liked that, and I liked the spirit of it and working with a woman.
I think whenever you're trying something new that you've never done before that's outside of your comfort zone, you can always feel a little bit of fear and a bit of anxiety about, well, can I do this? And I just think that you really have to ignore that, and you just have to get on with it and do the job that you really want to do and just give it as much as you possibly can.
Yo, it's Ethan McKinley's Questionable. Hit the music. Ba, 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 ba. Hey everyone, this is Ethan McKinley, this is Questionable. I'm speaking to Kat Wood. Kat is the writer and director of a film called Home, part of the Jameson First Shot film production, produced by Kevin Spacey. And she's going to tell us a little bit, well, what it's like in Hollywood, from going from your little town in Sheffield to directing a movie on Pacific Palisades with Maggie Gyllenhaal and Glenn Plummer, who I know from Speed and Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days and stuff. Yeah, welcome to the show, Kat.
Thank you.
What a crazy journey you've been on. I met you, like, God, about a year and a half ago, didn't we? An after party for a film you co-wrote, Arthur and Merlin. And then our mutual friend Marco told us that you'd buggered off to Hollywood. And I was like, what? What's happened? What's happened? And I've done all my research and stuff, looked it up, and it's just like, how remarkable is this that your script was chosen by Kevin Spacey and Maggie Gyllenhaal, only 3 people, to produce these films you've written. It's quite remarkable. I can't believe it, and I'm not even involved with it. How do you feel about it?
You're coming across as more excited than me. It's terrible.
You're like, oh, I'm done with Hollywood, Ethan. I'm kind of, you know, it's all the stories are true.
It's really, yeah. I'm still kind of thinking about it and processing it in my head. Yeah, I mean, once you kind of step back and you think, oh yeah, they picked my script out of nearly 3,000 people's scripts. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. So yeah, but I was shortlisted last year as well. So last year, the Adrian Brody year, I was in the top 20 scripts for that. So then when you get shortlisted, you have to do like a video biog, and you have to direct a short scene that they send you. So it's like about a week's work of stuff that you've got to prepare once you've been shortlisted. So I did that last year.
Is it the same scripts last year, or is this a new one?
They sent the same scripts this year as they did last year, so I had to pick a different one. So they send you a choice of 3 that you can direct. So yeah, so I didn't win last year, but then when I got shortlisted again this year, I was like, right, okay. Like the biggest effort to make this the most amazing 1-minute short scene ever, and then luckily they picked me, which is great.
No, it is. It's I'm just over the moon for you. I think it's absolutely remarkable. I'm kind of like you said. I'm like, wow, this is yeah, it's great. It's I mean, you found out basically on a billboard. They kind of secretly filmed and sprang it on you, didn't they? Is that correct? Is that how you found out?
Yeah, it was a bit much. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't expecting it at all. And yeah, so basically they ask you for a reference. So you put down your reference, like your work reference, that they can check that you're not crazy. But
and this is the person they secretly conspire with to kind of set you up.
Yeah, so they didn't want a reference at all. They wanted a conspirator, basically, against me, to set me up in Sheffield. So I thought he'd come up from London to meet me for breakfast, and he was there for a load of meetings. But actually, he kind of pretended to get off the train because he'd obviously been there the night before anyway. So it was
Let's go to Greg's. Why?
Yeah, it was really weird. And then they had yeah, like this electronic billboard kind of parked outside the train station. I did kind of think, oh, this is a little bit odd, because I was like, why are the police at the train station? It's not a match day. And it was just really a really surreal kind of thing. And then as soon as I saw the board, I was like, where are the cameras?
What attracts you to do this? Because I mean, Kevin Spacey grows talent. I mean, he says there's that famous quote that like it's always important if you make it to the top to send the elevator back down. I've done a thing called 24-hour plays under him, where we kind of someone had to write a play in 24 hours, then they kind of put it on with actors, and you have no time really to prepare, and it's super stressful. Is the same experience for you? Because I mean, you were told on this billboard, and then how much prep time did you have to kind of like set up this shoot and like prepare yourself more than anything, not just the other people involved? What was it like, that daunting task of going to work with people of this like level of or magnitude, who've worked in the highest expression of art in the business, in like gigantic movies? Maggie Gyllenhaal's in The Dark Knight, and Secretary Kevin Spacey, of course, work speaks for itself. What's that like to go, holy shit, I'm going to be meeting these people and working with them?
I kind of, yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to go and meet these amazing celebrities, I don't really think of it like that. So I kind of just thought, oh wow, I'm going to go and get to work with like the most talented people in my industry. Sure. And I kind of looked at it like that. It's like you're getting to go and work for your dream boss. Really, that was just kind of made me want to work harder, so that I would kind of raise my game to at least kind of not just completely ruin it. But yeah, they told me on Thursday outside the train station, and I flew out on Saturday. So literally from Thursday morning, them kind of punking me with this billboard, to flying out on the Saturday, and from finding out on the Thursday, we were shooting less than 2 weeks later. So it was really, really fast.
So you had 2 weeks. What happened in that 2 week period in terms of just getting the project started? Were you getting to pick the crew or something, or were they just meeting you? How does it work? Are you just kind of, you turn up on the day and go, this is Bill, this is Bob, this is Maggie, of course, this is Glenn, here's Kevin, go?
Not quite like that. Well, from the beginning, I'd already written like a treatment of how I wanted to shoot it and how I was seeing it coming alive and that sort of thing. So I'd already done all of that ahead of time when I was shortlisted. And they did already organise all the crew. So all my HODs were already chosen, and they were already there and in place and kind of looking and working on breaking down the script. So as soon as I got there, I went to cast. So obviously Maggie's in it, but the rest of the roles weren't cast. So then I cast Glenn and went to cast the other two characters that are in it, and then went location scouting, and yeah, so it was really kind of starting to work with my HODs and doing briefs and looking at what work they were doing and looking at the schedule and working with my DOP
okay, so
as well.
It wasn't just you were like foisted with all these things and you just have to work. So you cast Glenn, right, and the other actors apart from Maggie. Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. Yeah. So you have 2 weeks prep time. What's the first day of the shoot like? Is it do you keep having like out of body experiences?
It was all right. It was good. So I mean, I'd met Maggie previously. So the way it works is there's the three winners. So Cameron went first. So he did his.
Is that the guy from Sydney?
He did 2 days.
Was that the LA guy?
Yeah, the LA guy, and then 1 day off, and then it was my film for 2 days, and then a day off, and then Jason's film for 2 days. So it all kind of runs back to back. So I'd already met Maggie briefly on Cameron's set, sure. And then on the day before the shoot, I went to her house and we just talked through the script and things like that. So it wasn't kind of like you just get to set and you're meeting your cast there for the first time or anything like that. And the way that we scheduled it, we did. The first day was kind of the easiest day, and the second day was the slightly harder day. So I kind of gave myself quite a soft start. So I think the first shot was basically just her getting out of the car. So sure. I didn't kind of schedule in like really tough scenes to start with. Sure.
Why was the second day tougher then? Because you only had this 1 day to make it count, and I guess all the pressure was on. Is that right? It was a 2 day shoot.
2 day shoot, yeah. The second day was a little bit more pressure because it was the beach day. So we had 1 day that was like a house and a street location, and the second day was everything at the beach. And a lot of the script is based on the beach, so it was just kind of a bit more heavily balanced towards the second day in terms of what we needed to shoot. And also there's basically a bit where she is kind of twilighty magic hour, so we knew that we had that one specific bit at the very, very end of the shoot of the second day that we had to get right.
Sorry. Turn that off. Someone's emailing me. Just go away. There we go. Sorry, Kat.
That's all right.
There we go. Continue. Sorry. Yeah. So the magic hour. What is that? That's because I know that because James Cameron mentioned it in a. It's on a commentary for Terminator 2. There's a bit in there kind of where he pulls up and he explains who he is when John Connor gets off the bike, and it's that lovely kind of like it's not quite sunset or dusk. It's that in between when the sky's got that peachy pink to it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That magic. and you've got like a very small window in which to get it. Can you give an outline without giving away the story of the film?
Okay. Well, basically, it's about Maggie's character, this woman called Ruth, who is homeless, and she lives on her own on a beach in a tent, basically. And her tent gets destroyed, and she has to cope with that and decide whether or not she's going to take this offer of help from her charity worker, and whether or not she's going to follow this note that she doesn't know where it leads and what happens after that. So it's basically about her taking a chance and reaching out and seeing what happens.
Right. And were you like Maggie? Have you been living on the streets the last 2 weeks in prep? Because I only want to work with method people.
Funnily enough, I did not say that, Ethan. No, I didn't say that. No, but she was really great. I mean, she already had a lot of her own ideas about the character, and she really kind of threw herself into it. So when I met her, you know, she was already sending me photos of like what inspiration and things she was thinking about the character. So it was really great to be able to get her thoughts and for her to actually just own this character and bring it to life and talk to her about Ruth. It was awesome.
You should have been just more difficult, like Kubrick, and just acted really difficult, and they would have like think you were more of a genius than you already are.
I'm thinking maybe not for that strategy.
Just start shouting at people on the set on your first day. Like, who is this person? From their point of view, from like Kevin Spacey from Jameson's and the first shot crew, as it were, the people like putting this together, and Maggie, of course. What is their desire to have things like this? What is their hope for the people that like win this and get into and get to make their film? What's the kind of modus operandi for them?
I think the idea is really it's about working with new people and people who are coming up. So basically being able to see what fresh ideas are out there and helping people kind of get a step up and maybe open doors that wouldn't necessarily be opened. So it really is kind of like the first shot. So it's like, what can you now do with this experience and use it as a springboard to move on now that you've directed this film?
Sure. Do you think it's helped? Because I mean, I've been involved with projects that succeed and fail for various other reasons, whether they're good or bad. I'm sure you've had the same experience. Has it helped your kind of currency, as it were, to kind of move things along for yourself? Or I mean, the film has to come out yet, right? When's the actual release of the film?
Yeah, the film's out on July 31st, so it's released at the same time as the premiere. The premiere's on July 30th, because of the time difference between here and LA. It's like Sunday the 31st. You'll be able to see it over here, and that'll be on YouTube and Vimeo and the First Shot website. You'll pretty much have to be trying very hard to avoid it, I think.
Are they flying you to LA to kind of? Is it going to be screened at an actual on a movie theater or somewhere? Yeah,
it's screening at Paramount a lot, so that'll be nice.
Very nice. I've driven past it, not been in.
I've been in it once for meetings, but I haven't been to their cinema.
Sure.
Sure, it's awesome.
What in terms of the business? In like, I mean, we see a lot of women rightfully complaining that there's not enough kind of roles, maybe especially actresses. I guess you kind of have. I spoke to a casting director actually yesterday about the very same thing, that there's this kind of shelf life that everyone kind of is all over you in your 20s if you're lucky enough to succeed to get in there. Men have an easier ride in terms because we can, like, I guess the more a man weathers, you can kind of plug him into various. It's more of a bendable kind of philosophy in what you can insert a man into role-wise throughout his career. Whereas women, I guess, apart from Meryl Streep and a few like big ones, Gina Davis and stuff, you can, I guess, you kind of get cut off and left behind, is what they're saying, quite rightfully so. Is it the same for any kind of woman in any part of the industry, be she a screenwriter or a director?
That's a big question.
Because I literally made a list of directors, some that off the top of my head that I can remember. I've got Mary Harron, who did American Psycho, Jane Campion did The Piano, Penny Marshall, Catherine Bigelow, who Glenn's worked with, like I said, she did Near Dark and Hurt Locker, Point Break. She's done some really amazing like action films. But they seem very few and far between. Gurinder Chadha, there doesn't seem to be anyone kind of at the forefront pushed of that level of perhaps Christopher Nolan, you'd say, worth of recognition. So do you think things are changing? Do you think it's the same? How do you feel as a woman in this business? Is it a struggle or a pain in the ass trying to get something like off the ground versus if you're a guy?
Well, I can only really speak to my own experience, and I don't think that I have experienced directly any sexism towards me in my role as a writer or a director. But, you know, not that I wouldn't know about anything that might be happening when I'm not there.
Sure.
But I've not experienced anything like that personally. But obviously, if you just look at the stats, it's pretty clear that there is a massive imbalance between the number of roles that are going to men and women behind the camera in these key positions. So I think that there's been a big light shone on it recently, especially with like that report from Directors UK that came out recently, and there's a lot people being a lot more vocal about it. So I'm hoping that there will be some change.
Yeah, because I know there's her name escapes me now, but she's directing Wonder Woman. That's the only female director I know at the moment who's doing, like, apart from Sam Taylor Wood with 50 Shades last year, doing like an enormous action film project. They never seem to get cast as directors for action films, and yet, I mean, like, what is it? Catherine Bigelow, one of my favourites. That's like in my top 10 films: Point Break, Hurt Locker, and what is it? Near Dark. I know. I just think it's kind of strange that things aren't changing as quickly as they are. Really, I mean, all the people I've kind of mentioned don't seem to be around that much anymore. It's I'm not sure. I mean, has Maggie ever? Did you talk to this about Maggie in terms of being an actress?
No, not really. I think that, to be honest, there's probably a perception that women aren't really interested in action films. They're not really interested in directing those kind of more male-driven films, which I don't think is correct, really. I mean, I write action films, I write thriller, I write sci-fi. Those are all genres that women are really interested in as well as men. So I think maybe there's more of a perception problem.
What do you think action films in general, perhaps written by men, do you think they... I don't know, do they lack anything? Is there something you bring as a woman to it?
I don't think so. I think that you've just got to be able to be a good writer, and being a good writer means that you can write equally good female as well as male characters. Yeah, so, and I think that I would never say that a woman wouldn't be able to write a really good male character in the same way I wouldn't say that a man wouldn't be able to write a really good female character, but you do see a lot of kind of female stereotypical roles that are written into action films where kind of they're being saved, or they're the girlfriend or the wife, and it's those kinds of cliched roles really that I think we could kind of change.
Yeah, James Cameron's the only one I can really think of that kind of always writes very strong, like, female leads that kind of like stand toe to toe, or kind of like not step over, but kind of like are on equal footing, or like better than the men in the projects that he does. So I guess that must be kind of one of his things. So what's the next step for you? What's when this thing comes out, what are you hoping to achieve? Because would it be easier if you're out there, maybe now you've done this? Is it perhaps you could start maybe directing TV episodes or something? I'm thinking of a director called Lexi Alexander, who was an MMA fighter, and then she directed Green Street, that hooligan film, in 2005, and then she's done Punisher Warzone, and now she's kind of doing stuff on the CW channel like Flash and Arrow and stuff. Yeah. Is that a direction you can go in? Because you've got a directing and a writing agent, I assume now, right? Or would you have to wait for this to come out, and then at the wine and cheese party afterwards, they'd be like, "Hey, we want to sign you up maybe for a directorial representation"?
Well, at the moment, I'm not really planning on going into TV as it is. I mean, I'm a feature film writer, and that's what I do as my job. I'm a writer, first and foremost. So with the directing, I think it makes more sense that I'd be directing films rather than kind of going off and branching and learning TV, which is a very different industry at this sort of stage. So my next stage really is obviously the premiere is in 2 weeks' time, and then I've got a feature that I've written I want to direct, so I'm just working on materials for that, and then see how that goes. But I think that the Jameson first shot experience has definitely maybe opened doors a little bit more than they would have been previously, so it's kind of up to me to just work hard and push through them.
Because you've got a background in is it broadcast journalism or just journalism?
Broadcast journalism. I was at the BBC for a few years.
Yeah, is that something that broadcast journalism lacked, or you always kind of wanted to be a screenwriter? Or you like, does it help the process being a journalist coming into this? Could you bring a new angle? Because what's the process of writing a script? Let's say you're doing a short film versus a feature. Is the kind of structure the same but condensed, or how does it work? What are the differences?
A short film is mainly more like a moment. So if you want to have a short film that's got kind of a lot of emotional impact, then you focus on one particular element or one particular moment within a character's life. Whereas within a feature film, you actually have like a much larger plot, and you have a much longer way to go in terms of your character journey and development. So it's not kind of the same sort of thing. But I think for being a broadcast journalist, to be honest, that really helps more on the shoot. So because I'm used to producing live radio and kind of they're on next, we're dropping that, we're dropping this, and being able to do that over like a 3-hour period of producing radio.
Sure.
Being able to be on a shoot and kind of directing is quite similar, because you are kind of dealing with challenges and thinking on your feet and things like that. So I think my experience of doing that for a few years definitely helped on the shoot.
Sure. And when writing stuff creatively, does it help in terms of having the journalistic background, or has that kind of hampered you in a sense that if you're locked into a certain way of thinking when you're writing something, when you come to doing something creative or writing a character or kind of creating some kind of arc on which characters interact and stuff, how does that work? Has it helped or hindered you? Is it something you had to kind of relearn? Is it like a different kind of mental discipline slightly?
It's completely different, really. I think it's not kind of related, because I didn't do like hard news. I did more kind of the lifestyle programming, and that was quite creative. So it wasn't like I was going from just kind of being just doing kind of completely factual news-based stuff.
Sure.
I wasn't kind of reading the news or anything like that. I was more in the programming department. But it doesn't really help in terms of creating a story from working in radio like that. It's kind of very, very different discipline.
Now, you've co-written with a guy called Marco Van Bell that you worked on Arthur and Merlin with together. He told me this story once, that you have all these different coloured pens. Is that a normal way of working when you're working with another writer, or is it just kind of, was it your method, like, together doing that? I mean, how does it work? How do you, when you ideas clash and stuff, how do you kind of go, that was rubbish, get rid of that, keep that, no, I'm fighting for this, you can't get this? How does that marriage of ideas work? Is it a clash some days and it runs smoothly the next when you're kind of like trying to work in concert?
Kinda. I mean, working with Marco as a writing partner, we have kind of evolved our way of working together, and it's more efficient to go through the colours than it is to just have meetings and argue about it every day. If you can, and you can also read back what you've written and kind of take out like, that's a stupid idea, and write it in a nicer way. So basically we work in Word documents back and forth, and we'll use different colours in Word until we've run out of colours, and then we'll have to meet. And usually by that point we've only maybe got like a few points left to actually talk about, because the rest of them we've worked out already in this document, and it kind of just gives you a bit more space, so you don't have to kind of be thinking on your feet as you're having a conversation for every single aspect. So that's how we work together when we write together.
If you're doing a separate project, do you kind of script doctor each other when they run something by you, and you'll jump in and perhaps add a page, or maybe you should like cut that back or something? Because you do separate writing projects, don't you?
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, when we work on writing projects separately, we would talk to each other about it, but we wouldn't be editing each other's work or kind of providing ideas or anything like that, because that's kind of like, it would be more of a writing partnership then. So so if either of us has got like a thing that you want to run past somebody, then we might mention it, but it's different. So sure. We could talk about it, but it wouldn't be a collaboration.
So this next project, can you talk about anything you're doing as your own script perhaps? What's the next project for you as an individual writer and potential director for your next project? Can we spill any beans on that, or just go, we can't say anything yet?
At the moment, as a writer, I've just finished working on a rewrite of an action comedy that I optioned earlier this year, which is called Booze Bus. So I wrote that while Arthur and Merlin was shooting. Sure. Actually. So that's in development. So I've been working on that. And then as far as the feature project that I want to direct, it's a very contained sci-fi thriller. So it's kind of like a realistic scale for a first feature, and it also kind of sets out the kind of filmmaker that I want to be, but I'm not going to tell you the plot. No,
that's fine. So these we're going to wrap up now. This film, Home, comes out on the 29th of July, premiered?
It's 31st, it'll be.
31st.
Yeah.
And you'll be at the premiere in person, and then as that's happening, or just after, it will be put on YouTube, Vimeo, and all that stuff, right? Yeah. Where can people find it when it comes out, whoever's listening or watching this?
It will be on the Jameson First Shot website, and it'll be on YouTube and it'll be on Vimeo. Basically, if you Google Maggie Gyllenhaal, it'll come up pretty much.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be all over the place.
Well, awesome. Well, there we are, folks. That was Kat Wood, screenwriter and director. Her film Home will be out, as she said, on the 31st. So we'll link all those things to this show. If you're listening on iTunes, if you look in the show notes below that, you will find, of course, links to all those things, both on Vimeo and YouTube. And yeah, thank you, Kat, so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Ethan.
It's really nice just having a new creative force jumping on. I've not done a show for about a month, so it was like itching to go again and keep doing this. So I do really appreciate you coming on, and I cannot wait to see this film. And I can't believe this has happened. This is so cool for you, honestly. It's amazing, really. Well done. Yeah, you're gonna knock it out of the park. I know it. You're gonna be amazing. But yeah, thank you all for listening, everyone. Kat, thank you so much for coming on. And this is Questionable. I've been Ethan McKinley. You can find me at ethanmckinley.com. You can follow this show if you're listening on iTunes. You can find it on YouTube, of course. I'm going to splice some clips in of Kat working with Maggie and Kevin talking about the project as well. So yeah, thank you all for listening, everyone. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube. I've been Ethan McKinley, and you've both been Kat Wood. A Marriage Made in Heaven. What a great show. Thank you so much, man. Awesome.
Thanks.
See you at the next one, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, we're about to do the first shot of the Jameson first shot. This is going to be incredible. Go.
I really liked that script when I read it, and I think the success of telling it rested in kind of quiet silences, little tiny shifts in vibe and feeling.
It's about the moment where she's got to trust somebody else and take that kind of scary step. And it's about basically the kindness and unexpected surprise that she finds from her charity worker and how that works out for her. I was ambushed in the nicest possible way. A billboard on a van with my name on it and the name of my script on it, which just was... I've never experienced anything like that in my life. We need you to be in Los Angeles next Tuesday to start pre-production as you shoot March 31st and 1st of April. Well, I first came up with the idea from having read the brief for the competition about the unexpected things that can happen when you invite life in. And I started to think about what are all the things can that be? What does that mean? What have I seen? Well, how could this work with Maggie in it? I think the hardest part really of filmmaking and storytelling is really making sure that your characters are very, very clearly defined and that you can say exactly what they want and why.
I mean, what she wanted naturally was something that was easy for me to naturally give. So I really liked that, and I liked the spirit of it and working with a woman.
I think whenever you're trying something new that you've never done before that's outside of your comfort zone, you can always feel a little bit of fear and a bit of anxiety about, well, can I do this? And I just think that you really have to ignore that. And you just have to get on with it and do the job that you really want to do and just give it as much as you possibly can.
Kat gave me one really great note. She said, when I see the orange tent, what about if it's like you've got your lottery card, you think you've won the lottery, but you just have to go over the numbers one more time. It's a great note.
What am I imagining this film to look like when it finishes? How do I want my audience to feel at the end? And then just for me beyond that, what am I going to direct next?